Hello everyone, this is Shomnath Banerjee from Advanced Software Systems. Today we are going to talk about how to create a next-gen data-oriented site, some industry trends and best practices to watch for. Before starting everything, I would like to take a minute to talk to you about our organization, Advanced Software Systems, or ASSIST. ASSIST was established in 1993. It's a global provider of IT solutions and services. We are globally distributed with development teams across the world. Very strong federal practice, very large commercial accounts, and a very strong footprint in the education and nonprofit organization. The next slide shows you a partial list of our customers. And as you can see, we have a very wide spectrum of customers across the board. So without further ado, I'd like to start today's talk. Uh, First of all, this whole discussion started because one of our existing customers, a very large financial institution, wants to build a next generation data platform. The challenge is they truly want to build a next gen data platform, which means that they have thousands and thousands of indicators which they want to bring out in terms of charts, plots, and visualizations. They also want to have a global reach. Hundreds of countries will participate in this. And that means there will be a very wide spectrum of users and devices. People can come in using the most sophisticated device, like a modern iPad 2 or with with a very high bandwidth connection. And people might come in from a very remote location with a traditional 800 by 600 screen desktop over a 20 kilobit per second line. However, this organization truly wants to build a data platform of next gen. So they want to have very engaging visualization and they want their data platform to succeed. So this by far is a challenge. Now, before we go in how to solve this challenge, let's try to understand some of the emerging technology trends, some of the things which are going on, because unless we keep a strong eye towards those things, we can never build for the future. So the number one trend which I see is the emergence of touch-based tablets. With the iPad, Apple created an entirely new category, and it seems like this category is going to prevail, not only because of Apple, but also because of Google, because of many other companies who want to participate in this. But what is the implication for people like us, developers, who wants to build towards these devices? The number one implication is you need to plan for touch-oriented gestures. Swipe left, swipe right, how to respond to a tap, how to show more items with a scroll, how to support a pinch, or how to support a spread. So these gestures have become the most intuitive, expected user interface metaphors, and our applications better know how to respond to those things. The next trend which I see is the explosion of devices. The chart here is from a research, I've included a link for your benefit, is a research organization tracked the number of users and the most popular form factors, and they tracked over 400 devices which have come over a short spell of 5 years between 2005 and now. And the most popular ones are shown in this screen here from 96 to 65 to 320 by 480 are the mobile devices. And of course, there are other bigger devices which are seen. The other thing to note is many of these devices, for example, the iPhone and the Android class of devices, have started responding to orientation of these devices, meaning whether they are in portrait mode or in landscape mode. Depending on the orientation, the user interface have to change itself and morph itself. So the explosion of devices is something which you have to prepare for. The next thing is the emergence of HTML5 and standards. When Steve Jobs banished Flash from the iPad 2, we all asked, so then how are we going to have our audios and videos and all these things which we are normally used to? Well, the answer is HTML5. With HTML5, you can create a plugin free, a native video, a native audio, or using a canvas tag, you can draw very sophisticated stuff, and you do not need external plugin to your browser like the Flash or Silverlight or something else to draw charts and plots. And the other thing is many of these browsers are starting to support SVG. IE9 I know supports SVGs in a full form, and that creates a very high res ways essentially for charts and plots and also for mapping, because there is basically no loss the way it's rendered. The next trend is these devices are coming capable with a lot of new device capabilities. They have a camera, so you can take pictures and have a photo album. You can record and playback audio and video. You can, if you are enabled with the GPS device, so you can find the current location and the street by street roadmap. You can even have a compass. So using these devices, it's only left to your imagination what the next generation visualization will look like. It's not going to be like a traditional 2D charts and plots. The other very interesting thing is most of these devices support OpenGL, and smaller devices OpenGL-ES, and they also have a very specific separate graphics processing unit, a GPU. And using this, you can create a programmable pipeline to do pixel shading and fragment shading, and you can create a very sophisticated shading routines by which you can create a very real life feel of a 3D oriented rendering. So the data visualizations which are going to come in the future they will try to almost mimic real life. So these are the trends which you should be aware of. Now, along with these trends, let's jump into some of the best design patterns which we can follow, practice, and to be prepared for the future. So the number one design pattern is something called responsive design. Responsive design is a new approach where the site responds to the user's behavior and environment based on screen size, platform, and orientation. Now, traditionally, people try to do it by sensing the user agent and then finding this, looking up the device's form factor in a database called Wurfel, and based on what Wurfel returned, a new page would have been sent back to the client. However, as you can see, with the emergence of these devices, an explosion of devices, maintaining all these things would be a nightmare. It will be an impossibility. Forget a nightmare. So the new way of doing it is the design itself will morph to the screen size, platform, and orientation. And it is possible to do that using flexible grids and layouts, images, and CSS media queries. So as the user switches from laptops to tablets or phones, the site will automatically switch to a new resolution, image size, and orientation. So essentially, the site is responding to the user's preferences. Here's a very simple example so that you get the idea. The top area shows a 3-column layout for a very wide screen, maybe a desktop or a laptop. However, when you go to a smaller device, the same rendering is reoriented, is the same server responds with a different page where the left-hand sidebars are hidden, minimized, and are replaced by links, and the main content is shown as a single column layout. So this is a very simple example of responsive design to show you the idea. The second design pattern is something called progressive enhancement. Now, as you plan for these most modern devices, most enabled with GPU, compass, accelerometer, with all these things, are you going to leave all the people who are coming with a very traditional thing, a desktop with a very low bandwidth connection? Are you going to leave them behind? The answer is absolutely not. So how do you accomplish this? You accomplish this with something called progressive enhancement, where you start off where the basic content and basic functionality is accessible to all. Meaning maybe everybody, if they don't have something, they can see a text-based oriented thing. Now the enhanced layout and enhanced behavior are progressively added to the base behavior and the content. So this is the idea of progressive enhancement. So the combination of responsive design and progressive enhancement, you can create a magical experience where nobody is left behind. The other design pattern which you want to remember is something called user engagement. We are living in a world, in an age and time of the social media explosion, and this has to be factored into everything. When you're designing it, when you're testing it, when you're deploying it, this user engagement is highly critical. So you want your user mass base to like or dislike the data sets or the data visualizations you create. You might want them to tweet about it. You might want them to share it on their Facebook page, or for to create an RSS feed so that they can see what is the most recent data feed. They might want to comment about it or even blog about it. Or for the very innovative ones, they might create their own YouTube channel, combine and mash up this data and create a video feed. But what all these user engagements will do is to kind of stir up the base and find out who is using these data platforms in what fashion. So this user engagement right from the beginning is quite critical. And of course, with user engagement, you should create an incentive structure. So the incentive structure could be created by using a leaderboard where you find out who's the leader of this group and who's not. If someone's the leader, his name should pop up at the top for the community to know. And using this leaderboard will take everybody to the next level. So the design pattern 4 is something called track and tune. It is very important that in this day and age you can track everything, whether it's site analytics or whether it's traffic calculations or whether it's performance matrix or the site logs. You can track almost everything, and you should be able to tune your data sets. You should be able to even do A/B testing and adjust stuff. So trying to find out the as much data and try to analyze those data and being able to respond based on those data analysis is quite critical pattern. So those are the 4 things which I wanted to share with you. And if you want to build a data platform for the next generation, I think it's important to keep in mind the emerging trends, how you plan for this, and hopefully these design patterns are going to help you. Thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at sbanerjee@assist.net. Take care. Till next time. Bye now.